All right, guys, welcome in. Welcome in. Hopefully you guys can hear me. My name is Eric, product specialist here at TOA Electronics. Good to be here. Welcome in. Very exciting webinar for you guys today. We are introducing our brand new A-800D Series digital mixer amplifier. We have two special guests here. We have Rick and Greg. Rick is part of our team here at TOA. He is my manager. Rick's going to be going over some of the technical aspects of the unit, and then we have Greg in here. Greg is the owner-operator of OutreachFX, which is an integration company. Greg will get into some details down the road. So just to give you guys an overview, this is going to be a roundtable type discussion, open format. We're just going to have a conversation about the unit. Hopefully we can get you guys excited about it, get you on board, and show you guys what we've been working hard on, show you guys the feedback that we've been getting out there in the community and what we developed based on those needs. Okay, so basically, as you guys know me, my name is Eric. I'm a product specialist here at TOA Electronics. I joined TOA back in 2019, earlier in 2019. I've been kind of the liaison between multiple departments. I am an audio enthusiast, as these guys, my colleagues, will mention as well. We all share the same passion, which is audio, which is really cool. I'm involved in DJing, music production. I come from a pro audio background. So does Rick, and Greg has a pro audio background as well. And I love audio. I live and breathe audio. That's what we do every day. And I love working for TOA and just being around the guys that enjoy the same things that I enjoy. So it's been a real pleasure. And let's get to it. So let's bring in our first panelist. Without further ado, this is Mr. Rick Escobar. Rick, if you want to introduce yourself, Rick is a musician, producer. In a moment, you'll see his studio, which is all set up in the background, which is really, really cool. Rick has a history in surf rock and roll. He's done some writings for the SpongeBob show on Nickelodeon. Rick, without further ado.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Rick Escobar. So I've been with TOA, long enough that I'm trying to remember now. So like 9 years, something like that. So if any of you have called in to support at any point, you've probably talked to me. So I've been the assistant product support manager for years there. So my background is in kind of at this point, at my age, at 60, if it makes noise, I've done it in some way or another. So this is now commercial audio for me. 10 years ago or so was a new thing, and then I was in computer music technology. I've worked as a software test engineer, and kind of done the gamut of stuff. So anyway, here this is my home office that I live out of here, and out of California. And I'll go ahead and talk about a little bit about the. I'll show you share a screen of the A-800D is what I have up here. So let me go to where I can do a screen share. Oh, host disabled screen share. Am I able to get control of that, Eric, so I can show it?
Absolutely, Rick. Here you go. Boom.
All right. You guys see that? All right.
Yes, you do.
All right. So it's a web server based interface. So it allows you to. There's nothing special to any software to install. You just access it by an IP address. IP address for the networking is set up on this network setting page. It can use auto DHCP, or I'd recommend using a static IP address so it never changes on you. Pretty simple there. This is the main home page. This audio sync button will show any audio signals are active on the system at any point. This might be for if you're controlling a system remotely, or somebody has multiple systems out there. This will allow you from remote to be able to lower the master volume. And so what happens, you'd move it, click apply, that would change it. If for some reason you wanted to change it to a volume and keep it there if the power was cut. If you click on the keep button, then you apply it, then that's going to be the volume set for the system. So it's nice for IT people controlling these systems remotely. This panel up here where it says normal, control in, they'll show you the status of if you make any control inputs, it'll tell you what control input's been made, when input's active. This is here, allows you to apply, essentially it mutes anything in real time. So if you click on it, click apply, it's going to mute those channels. And then to stop it, you could click stop, and then you'll be back to where you were. So it's maybe that just want to cut something or you're troubleshooting something. EQ setting, you've got high pass, low pass, parametric EQ. And what it will do is there's this dynamic feedback filter. And what that'll do is if any feedback is picked up, when you hear it, you can refresh this page and it'll show you where it happened. It's going to try and duck those, prevent it from happening. But then that gives you some feedback to what happened, and if you want, then you could use the EQ to cut it a little farther. This page here to confirm settings, it'll show you the status of what's going on with the switches on the back. If there was a module in here, it would tell you. If I changed anything, I'd refresh the page and it would show me the status of that input. Now, 99% everything that's done in this thing is right here. It's actually, if you've ever worked with a 9000 M2, this is much more straightforward system for doing party paging. So what happens, if I click edit here, this is going to show what the priorities are. And I can change priorities by I can move, for example, move this control, move it down, and then click apply. And it's restarting, and it's going to move the control one down. Now, valid. What these levels of priority are valid or invalid, meaning on or off. That's really all it means. It's pretty simple. It's just a cross matrix system. So, for example, anything that's checked is what is going to get muted if something gets activated. So, in this case, if I had if I made a Control 2 contact closure on the back of it, you'd hear a chime. Input 1, let's say it was my microphone announcement, would go through, and everything else would duck. You can set this to emergency priority 1, and the really only thing it does is it overrides all the treble, EQ, master volume, and it'll just audio will come out at full capability amplifier.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah.
Don't mean to cut you off. We just need to move forward a little bit quicker here. I want to introduce Greg real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay. So anyway, that's this part, this area right here that says normal. This just means mute. So it's just a mute for a channel. And then past there, we've got the maintenance page. Really, the only time you're ever going to use that is if there's a firmware update. The last thing I'll show you is this thing on the home page. It's got a blinking LED. If someone was working with you, they're on the site, you're trying to figure out what's going on with a particular unit. Let's say they have 2 or more, you can click blink LED, and then the network will blink on the front of the unit. You know which one you're working with. And that's it for now. And let me know if you have any other questions.
Thanks, Rick. And Rick, real quick, just to overview that, he just gave us a brief overview of the internal programming and how you guys actually set this up. This is all via IP. You just browse into the unit and you're good to go. There's a lot of in-depth settings that we can answer questions on if you guys have questions on towards the end of the webinar. I didn't want to leave Greg out. Greg is our second panelist. He is with OutreachFX. Greg has been an important part or an important third-party team member. We've done a lot of work with him. Greg, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for coming in. Greg, if you just want to briefly introduce yourself to the team.
Sure. My name is Greg. I'm the owner of OutreachFX. We are a pro audio / commercial audio installer in the New York metro area, as well as we have a branch out in Denver and branch out of the Philadelphia area as well. And excited to be with you today as we get a chance to look at this for the first time. I got a unit in front of me and have one of the very first times I had the opportunity to unbox it was yesterday and mess around with it. And just excited to see what this unit is capable of and some of the things that, as an integrator, that it can really help us with.
Thank you, Greg. And like Greg mentioned, Greg is the first person to get his hands on one of these units. Greg, we're excited for you to have that. It's awesome. You're going to love it. So Greg's going to give you his first impressions on, what it was like to unbox it, how it felt, the audio quality unit, how easy it was to set up, how easy it was to integrate. And we'll get into those things in just a moment. A couple key points for you guys out there on this unit. It is a step up from our 700 series. And there's a couple key points that we want to stress here. Number one is that it's remote maintenance. Basically, we want to allow the integrator to go into this unit from anywhere in the world and be able to change or maintain any setting on that piece of equipment. So this eliminates over cross-country travel, the integrator to have to physically go to the site to make a change. Obviously, there are scenarios where somebody would have to go to the site and actually make a change or an adjustment. But the majority of the settings you're able to program remotely. So we want to stress that very importantly. Browser programming control, Rick just showed you. It's all done via the browser. It's very easy to get in there and make changes. Again, this stresses the remote maintenance as well. Rick gave you a brief overview there. It looks familiar to, if you guys have used our Lenubio product, which I have back here, the GUI is very clean, very punchy, stands out, very minimal. And a thing to mention there with the GUI is you can get real-time information back from the hardware. And this is just by checking off a box, and Rick might show you this a little bit later. So you can get that feedback, that VU leveling, what the unit is currently set to. This was very difficult back then. It was more static as opposed to dynamic. So there is a dynamic option there where the unit will talk to you on the other end and show you exactly how it's set up. So it's really cool stuff. The signal path is digital. So, obviously it's taking in an analog signal and it's going cleanly through the unit, throughout the unit. With DSP all on board, feedback suppression, like Rick mentioned. The first screen that Rick also showed you gives you an entire signal flow from left to right, perfect for maintenance, perfect for the integrator. It's all right there. Cool stuff. Another big one is 900 series module integration. So you can use any module from our 900 series units, or 900 series that is, with this chassis. There are two different there are two slots on board, excuse me. So we added another slot as opposed to the BG, and we wanted to give you guys another option there. A lot of times you guys wanted an additional input or maybe a noise masking module or another wireless input, something like that. And, we don't have to recommend another piece of larger equipment, which is above and beyond. We can just, give you a module and you're good to go. So 2 module slots on board. And then there's a master mute bus for easy integration with emergency systems. If you guys are concerned about muting override and things like that, you're able to mute right over that system itself. Okay. All right. So let's get back to Rick and we'll get to Greg. Greg is going to be more of a real world type example, and Greg has real world experience. We sent him the unit. He opened it like he bought it, and he set it up like he was an integrator. So we'll get to Greg in just a moment there. Rick, are you still there?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Rick, if you want to just, I touched on a few things in terms of the main points and features. In terms of a technical aspect, when we get to, just give me a moment here, remote maintenance, and maybe you can give them an example of how an integrator would go in there and maintain the system. Can you show them the dynamic feedback in terms of the unit showing you information in real time?
I don't have the ability to feed it back right now, but if you're talking, you're not talking about feedback. Just so what you have here is you've got this auto sync feature button. If you see that, I just have an iPhone just sending some audio into this right now, and it's going into channel 5, which is set to duck. So it's just showing what's going on with that in real time. The audio will be anything that's coming on audio channels. So there's not a layout for the individual channels, but it's pretty easy to do with if someone needed to control something from the front panel of it. But it does allow the integrators to say, if they're not seeing ducking, or some of the store calls and says they're not getting their paging is not going down, you'd be able to tell from here what the status of it and what it's doing. If they had let's say sometimes we'll get calls where a contact closure gets closed that does a priority paging, and they don't realize that's why the background music's not coming through. You'd be able to get feedback from here to see what's going on the control ends. So if they actually had a short, which is pretty common actually, we get common calls about that. It would be, oh, there you go. And then, so it makes it easy to find that kind of stuff. It's actually a pretty simple product to work with. I think you get your hands on it. It doesn't take long to kind of figure out just the basic operation of it, and it's even then it's not really complicated. It's just simple to use. You any other questions for me, or?
Yeah, Rick. Going to the modules. So let's talk about the modules real quick. The 900 series modules. Let me just real quick stop your share there. Hopefully you guys can see us now. So any 900 series modules available. 3 modules which really ring a bell with me are the SP11N, right? So the SIP module, which would bring in your VoIP system into the amp and to allow overhead paging. The WTU9800, which is our wireless series module, and also the noise masking module. Any use case scenarios, do you see these coming up as potential add-ons for the unit?
Myself, as far as the modules, it's just if somebody needed another particular type of input. There's so many 900 modules we make, right? It's like a Lego system in there. It just opens up a large possibility to any additional input that you may need. Maybe you like to, this does have a chime, so you could, for example, set it so that if somebody pushed a contact closure at the back door for delivery, chime would go off. But let's say you prefer the chimes out of the modules that we have that you can do chimes. Those are available as well. It's kind of endless possibilities as far as I don't know how many modules we have, but I suspect it's like 30 or so, if not more.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Okay.
I actually think that that's one of my favorite parts of this unit is the fact that while it's got a lot of fixed inputs and it's straightforward and easy to just pick up, set down, and install, I also have those module slots for I really wish it could just do this one thing. Well, now it actually can do that one thing because it allows you that ability to slot in whatever module you want, but you don't have to start off from the beginning going, let me figure out every single module I could possibly need to build my system. So it balances that really nicely and saves a lot of time on the integration side because you can put the unit down, plug it in, start talking to it, and it's going to work. And then down the line, my client goes, hey, I have this crazy thing I need to now do with this system. Great. I have modules. I can solve that problem.
Exactly. And it's, Greg, great points. Flexibility. So, the idea to integrate down the road, either with another module or reprogramming or whatever that is, this unit can definitely do that. Greg, great intro, by the way. Unboxing. Tell us what that experience was like. You got a brand new unit. You unboxed it. How did it feel? How did it smell? No, I'm just kidding. How did it sound?
Didn't take a good sniff on it, but I did take the time to unbox it, pull it out, get it running, and I will say my initial impressions are really, really strong on it. It feels like a good, solid unit. It looks modern. It feels like I was able to take it out, pull it together. I wasn't trying to figure out anything about it. It was one of the first times in a while I was able to pull a piece of gear out of a box and just know how to use it pretty much straight out of the gate. And that made it a lot faster to figure out how to integrate. And I'll tell you, from my perspective, that's going to be the saving grace on this. I look at how many hours I burn on integration and programming when it comes to setting up systems. And this thing you can have up and running in minutes versus figuring out where everything belongs, how it's all going to talk, getting it all programmed right. You know what? It's just simple and straightforward. And for many, many situations, it really just fits right in out of the box. You can get it up and running and not have to worry about it. But then, as I mentioned, I know one of the worst things that I have to face as an integrator is when I sell a piece of gear and then the client comes back and says, oh, yeah, so now I want to do this. And I go, that piece of gear I sold you can't do that anymore. I need to get you a whole different piece of gear. And that's happened to me more times than I want to count, because we'll design a system to what they claim their current needs are, and then their needs change or expand, and it didn't have that type of right expandability. So, yeah, it was great.
Now, you mentioned, and Rick could attest to this, that Rick gave you a run through. I mean, from what you didn't know, it took you about 15 minutes to actually get up to speed on this. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was probably about 15 minutes of just a quick run through, and it all was straightforward enough and made sense enough that it didn't take long to figure out. Right. I mean, it really, we don't have pictures of it. I'm going to pick up the unit and just kind of show it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it really has, I mean, you got really basic volume knobs right off the front, really easy as far as setting volumes, and master volume knob. I mean, pretty straightforward, but it's a clean piece that way. And then same with the integration on the back. Once again, it's a very fixed, easy to figure out where things get plugged in. You see those two card slots, easy to get card slots in and figure out where you want to be.
Rick, do you got a unit there as well?
What's that?
I'm sorry, Rick, do you have a unit there as well?
Yeah, I can't pick it up from here.
Oh, you can't pick it up. Okay, I was going to tell you to kind of walk through the back panel there, but Greg did a good job. Greg, can you pick up that unit one more time?
Sure, absolutely.
Just show the back, just so the viewers get a nice little look there. So as you guys can see, and Rick, you can talk over this if you'd like to, there's multiple inputs on board. If you're familiar with our 700 series, this guy, which has a lot of inputs, this guy has that as well. Your chime controls, those dips to the left towards the back, towards the power cord input, are going to be your chime inputs or your chime controls there. To the right of that is your remote volume control, which this does have. Rick, you said an AT10K would work?
Yeah, 10K linear pot. That's all it is. It's the same as a mountain of TOA remote volume controls on our products, 900s, BG amps, you name it.
Yeah. Let me go back to Greg here. And then multiple inputs on the back there as well. Obviously, your sensitivity switches. Most inputs can handle mic or line level. The RCAs are going to be line. And Greg, you have a SP11N there inserted?
Yep.
SIP module. Very expandable, very useful. It's kind of like the Swiss Army knife to get your SIP system, outputting over your overhead. So like Greg said, very, very flexible. It's a great unit. Greg, going back to you can put it down now. I don't want to.
It was starting to get heavy.
Yeah. Greg, where do you see, obviously we have this in 3 different watt scenarios, 120, 240, and 40. Any client applications you can think of right off the bat?
I mean, stores, it's a perfect fit for small commercial or commercial installs from the standpoint of throwing something like this in a store where you need background music, but you also need to be able to page over top of it and potentially have fire evacuation. Really easy to set up and walk away and not have to worry about it or think about it. So certainly see it going into stores. That would be the first place I would put it. I also think there is an application in the house of worship market for hallways and things like that, where once again, you're just trying to send that single input down to the hallways, but you need some of those override and paging options without having to get into a larger DSP to do it. You could pretty easily feed a hallway off of this or your hallways and your
foyer areas. Yeah.
So it would be a good fit in a situation like that. for sure. Really anywhere where you need real simple control for the end user, because that's a major win on this. Like the amount of times I go and program these panels or wall panels for a client or something, or a wall switch, and then the amount of time it takes you have to spend to explain for them how to do something as simple as turn up a volume. Well, the volume knobs are right on the front on this thing. It's not gonna. It's just really simple and straightforward that way. In some ways, this will save you a lot of phone calls and a lot of errors that way, just because, you know what, turn up the volume. It's easy. They understand that. But any type of set it and let it just run kind of situation like that, this is going to serve great.
Gotcha. Hey, Rick, going back to you, if you want to pull up you were getting into the priority overview. I think this, if you want to go ahead and share your screen there, I think this part of the GUI is pretty critical. It might look this is where the majority of the programming is taking place. So if you just want to quickly give our viewers an understanding of how this actually works, the hierarchy levels, the check marks, maybe some of the confusion where it might come to some of the naming that our engineers use from Japan, anything that would help them understand better.
Okay, so the one thing just be aware of is that where it says normal, I've just applied a change to it. Replace the word normal with mute. That's all it means. So if I want to have channels permanently muted, that's all this does right here. This right here, give an example where you see valid, invalid, just means whether these, what's going on with these particular inputs and controls. But one might be, for example, that you've got, let's say, we'll take this example where we've got background music playing on input 5, okay? And we're going to make this CC, we're going to make this C control 2 to be an emergency, let's say using a EV20R message repeater, so that if a contact closure is made, this becomes the number one priority because of where it is in this box. This up and down arrow will allow you to move where things are, but anything in the top, this is priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, priority 4, etc. So what would happen is this would become an overriding emergency. It has a chime. Then I could say I could have a thing where input 1 is for the store, like, need to clean up on aisle 5 or something. That's what this would be. And then that would just be, and then at that point you're just running your audio, and then if somebody kicks on, so you'd only need these two right here. So with these two running right here, your background music will be playing. If someone kicks on a mic and makes a contact closure, then it's going to override the music. And if somebody's talking at the same time and that's overridden, then if control 2 comes on, it overrides everything, does a chime, and your emergency announcement can go through. So you can build a, multi-tier priority system pretty easily. And that's really all there is to it. It just, I think generally just depends on what you're using for inputs, but I don't often see more than 3 priorities. Usually it's background music and paging and then emergency announcements, generally, but it can go deeper than that.
Hey, Drew, I would actually, there's one question I have yet to have answered, and I think at least I saw one panelist who was wondering the same thing. Do we know what the MSRP is on these units?
I don't have that information at the moment, Greg.
Yep.
But we could definitely, that's going to go out shortly. Yeah, I do not have that info at the moment, but we'll get that out to you guys. A price list should have shot out to our current dealers, if I'm not certain about that. But Kevin, our national sales rep, should be getting that out pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Rick, thank you for that quick overview there. Let me just get you back over here. Just bear with me.
Play the Jeopardy music while you do this.
Rick, can you remove that screen share?
Yeah, hold on here.
Thank you.
Stop share.
While Rick's doing that, all right, cool, thank you.
There you go.
I just want to say hi to current attendees. Looks like we have Andrew, Barbara, Carl, Carl, Ed, Hector, Jessica, Jim, Karen, Kevin, Matthew, and I recognize some names here. Mushuta, who has a question. I did see that, Mushuta. We'll get to that in just a moment. Neil, Reggie, Rob, Scott, and Steven. All right, guys. Mushuta had a question. Let me just get to it real quick. And I believe you're asking if it is replacing the 700 series. From what I understand, yes. It's a step up from the 7. Is the 7 going to get discontinued? No. So it's not really a replacement. It's more of a step up in that sense. It is very similar. And maybe Rick can touch up on it. Maybe, hey, Rick, do you mind just doing a little compare and contrasting?
The main difference is the 700 doesn't give any remote feedback. There is no interface to it other than at the source, the hardware. The other thing is there's only 2 priority levels. So you'll have page and music. That's it. So this goes as far as that goes. This gives you feedback to what's going on in the unit remotely. You can change the volume, master volume remotely, and you can change, if they want to change their priorities for how what's going on with their priority paging or anything else, it can be done remotely. So you don't need to be at the site. Anything with the 700 will require you're there.
I will say, though, that there's probably a lot of places where you might have spec'd a 700 in the past where this might be the better option now that it's available, because it just has those extra features and has that ability to grow. So, I mean, from my perspective, this is an expansion. It gives you more feature sets, more abilities, but that gives you the ability to grow with the system.
It's actually easier to set the priority paging on this by the GUI than it is with the dip switches in the back. Yep. Because if you get a customer call, I can tell you from a support call, the common call is, hey, we can't get the background music to duck. Well, look at the back, and you see count over to the dip switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then they're flipping things everywhere. And then what the other thing is, often at these sites, more often than not, they have internet access where they're at. And they say, hey, can you, let's do a screen share. Do a screen share, in you go, load it, dink, 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 done. Thank you, goodbye.
Which is huge, because the second you have a client touching the back of an amp, you're in trouble. That's just my rule of thumb. Anytime the conversation starts off with, hey, go look at the back of the amp, we're probably already in trouble, because something else likely is going to get pulled out or pushed or unwired in the process. And it's the beginning of, now I really definitely have to have someone on site, versus avoid all that. Hey, let me just jump right into the GUI and check this for you.
Yeah, if you're a central IT hub and you're controlling all these from a central location and you're in the firewall and you could do it from there, very often it's going to be a particular store. It's behind their firewall, and the tech goes out, and that's the case where remote screen sharing through and none of these there's a ton of these applications that allow you to do like TeamViewer or whatever, and you just go in and look, see what's going on, and they're not touching anything, and then off you go. They're done.
Yep, that's how we serve.
That's
how we would be inclined to service this, because I know for us, we'll often be install. If you're an installer and you're on this call, you know that sometimes that's the worst thing, is to show up on a site for a 30-second service call, especially if it's something that's still under warranty, and you're the one who has to pay for that. Man, I hate having a guy show up, bing, flip a switch, and I'm done. If I can do that from the comfort of my living room, and I can just have them screen share or something like that, and I can go in and check it and fix it, what now would have been an hour drive or half-hour drive, get out, look, find the amp, do all of that, turns into a much shorter and faster service call.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the biggest aspects of this unit, is just that time-saving aspect, to avoid that very expensive call where somebody has to travel to the site, and it might just be a dip switch setting or something like that. Now you're able to visualize this. You could see everything that's going on internally with the unit from remote. There's just so much involving there when it comes to cost savings, time, energy, deployment. it's endless, especially in today's environment where we are all working remotely. We try to avoid going on site when possible. So the integrator would love something like this. And this is the direction that we're going in, is this remote support setting. And we do that here at TOA. We do that daily, and Rick can attest to that as well. But to get that information in real time, and that's another, by calling us or reaching out to the manufacturer, that's another step that the integrator has to take that maybe they don't have to take, and they could save some time on that, where they can avoid calling us. And, we'd love to help them, obviously, but they'll be able to see that in real time and fix that for the customer. So all good information. Thank you, Greg and Rick, for that. Appreciate it. We do have some numbers regarding MSRP. So for the A-800D, this is the 120 watt unit. We have an MSRP of $920. For the A-800D, we have an MSRP of $1,190. And for the 848D, we have an MSRP of $1,416. Also to note, on the 700 series, 25 volt output. Rick, the 800D, does it have a 25V out? I don't think so. I could be incorrect about that.
No, 70 volt.
Strictly 70.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's also record out on board, right? A pre-out.
The record out, there's actually a record out that's always active, so it's always passing unbalanced signal out.
Okay. So for the
thereabouts, like minus 10 dB, something like that.
Okay. So for the time being, the 700 series does have a 25 volt option. With the 800, we might be doing transformers down the road. It depends. In the U.S., it's not as common as it is in Canada and other applications. 70 volt obviously is the standard on that aspect. So that was a question that just came in.
Most of the time we see, at least for me, my time here, the only time I ever see 25 volt almost ever is intercom.
Right.
And that's going to be like our N8000. Otherwise, it's all 70 volt. Like 99.9% of every call is 70 volt.
It's 70 volt. Absolutely. Okay. Greg, going back to you, you mentioned, I like the point you mentioned with, because you're big in houses of worship, obviously. And if you guys don't know, Greg's got a website. Greg, what's your website?
It is OutreachFX.com,
Yep.
Although it is in need of an overhaul. So,
I think it looks pretty good.
Oh, really? Well, thanks. I've been wanting to overhaul it for about 4 or 5 years now and just have not had the time. Somehow, even in the midst of COVID, I didn't have the time.
Shauna just posted Greg's link there, and you'll see great pictures of Greg's work. We were at Greg. We were at Emergence Church with you. What was that? About a month ago.
Yep.
And a beautiful installation that he did out there. These are these modern non-denominational type churches where they really want AV to shine. When it comes to their services, and Greg's outstanding job. He gave us a demo. It sounds fantastic. But getting into this unit, you mentioned like hallways, and at these churches are these large gathering areas, right, where people come in, they have coffee, they sit down, they relax. So when you were talking about using something like this in that environment, maybe away from the main congregation area where you have obviously larger amplifiers and things like that. Can you maybe give us some ideas on where that might be used in those types of applications? Because that was some interesting stuff that you brought up previously.
Yeah, so I mean, for most churches, one of the things they ask is, can the sermon and everything get pumped into our hallways? And it's always a pain in the butt to set up all of the different zones throughout all of your hallways and figure out exactly how you're going to do that. And half the time you end up giving them too much control where they end up screwing things up. And so you really want to keep them hands off on units like that. And so a unit like this that has the that I can set up some prioritizing of things and let it just run is going to work great. Rick, you mentioned to me the other day there is a way to at least get some form of control to this, correct?
You're talking about remote volume?
Yep.
It's the remote volume. Other than the web interface, it would be putting a 10K linear pot into like a single gang box.
Yep.
There's a 2-terminal connector on the back of it, and if you connect that to the 10K linear pot, then that controls the master volume.
So what that allows me to do is just get a volume control for someone so they can turn off the hallways if they need to, or turned up the hallways if they need to. But for the most part, you're just pumping that signal into there, but giving that ability for, I need to make an announcement out in the hallways or something like that. I now have that feature. A lot of houses of worship are mixing their foyers with coffee houses. So being able to even prioritize things in like, it's playing background music until this kicks in, that works amazingly for them because no one has to go and switch buttons. It takes priority.
Okay, cool. Rick, do you know where this is manufactured? Country?
I'm not 100% certain.
I don't have that either.
Yeah, you have to follow up. I thought it was Japan, but it could be wrong.
All right, Hector, thanks for your question. We will get you that information as well. Rick, another question coming in here. Do we have the ability to power the unit on and off remotely? And I believe we do.
Yeah, right here. On the screen share, if you want a screen share, I can show you.
Yeah, go ahead. Show real quick. No problem.
While he's doing that, looking at the unit, it says it is made in Vietnam.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Greg.
In front of me.
Let's see. Let me go back to where is my screen share.
So, Hector, that is Vietnam produced. You're welcome.
All right. There you go. So right here, there is a power on, power off button. That'll shut it down. What'll happen if it's off, anything that's in this high priority chain, if something audio comes through any of this high priority stuff, it's going to turn it on to do the announcement. But that's it. That's just right from that web interface.
Beautiful. So yeah, guys, good question, by the way. If you guys have any questions, let us know. We are answering those right away. Hector, thank you. And Chupa, we appreciate the questions as well. If anybody else has questions, let us know. If we don't get to your questions, please use the chat. You can use Facebook, which we are broadcasting live to. If you have friends, anybody that is interested in this unit, this video will be available on Facebook to rewatch. So we put all of our webinars, once they're done recording, they go up in real time, or maybe a couple minutes after the webinar is over for rewatching and viewing and things like that. All right, guys, I think that that sums it up. We're excited about this product. We think it's a next step forward. Oh, wait a minute. Hector's got another question. Hector, keep firing away. These are all good questions. Does the unit come with rack ears? Yes, we've been known not to include rack ears in some of our mixer amps. Rick, do you want to answer that question?
Actually, I don't know because I didn't see the out of box. Greg can answer it because he got one out of box.
I had rack ears in mine, so I can only speak for the one I have. But yes, it came with rack ears.
So the answer is yes. I'm almost positive as well. That did come up. Rick, sorry to throw you out there on the spot there, but I believe
it's happened before.
It does. Hector, it comes with rack ears. Yeah. So we want to stay away. We want to get everything in the box that is needed to get you guys up and running out of the box, and that's, as Greg stated, we want it to be this quick and easy installation for your integrators, and then simple use for the end user. So obviously less contact for the end user. This is when the remote maintenance comes in and things like that. So it does. Ed, thanks for confirming as well. It does come with rack ears. Yes, it does. So you guys are good to go out of the box if you want to rack this in a 19-inch rack. And it also can be mounted directly on a tabletop or whatsoever, and this and that. Another quick point I want to bring up is, obviously restaurants and bars have been highly impacted during this issue that we're dealing with every day. With the WTU module, with the wireless mic module, to kind of keep this all in the box, and I'm trying to think outside the box when I'm thinking about this, but if there's a lounge or a bar that wants to add some dynamic mics, the WTU 9800, if you guys are not familiar with this module, I love it personally. Literally plug and play, and you have a wireless UHF system right on board. And you can have two of those, without adding an additional UHF system, another receiver box, another rack unit, whatever it is. We want to keep this as in the box as possible, nice clean look, if this unit is visible, as Greg showed you, it's very clean, very minimal, looks professional. It's modern looking. We wanted to stick around the modernization of the units. Our units haven't been changed in a while, so this, while it's a new look, it kind of looks similar to our older units, and we just wanted to stay in that ballpark. Some other information as I get real-time feedback here from my team members and you guys as well. So it looks like we are going to be supporting a 25-volt transformer for the 800 series. Make sure you guys are aware of that. So if you're interested in upgrading, you have a client. Rick mentioned a couple examples. I doubt Greg has dealt with 25 volt. Maybe he has. No, he has not.
No.
I was told some schools require 25V in certain applications. So if you guys have a client or customer that specs 25 volt, this unit will do it. So we will offer that transformer down the road. We don't have a model number for you or a cost at the moment, but apparently we've been getting a lot of requests, and Kevin, our national sales manager, has jumped on that, and we're going to be offering that as an option. So very, very cool stuff. Awesome. Okay, any other questions from you guys? Let me just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Thank you, Ed, for clarifying on the rack gears. We appreciate that. Thank you, Hector, with the amazing questions. Greg, anything you can think of that maybe might come up from an end user or an integrator on your end that they might be questioning that, if they pick the unit up, they're looking at it,
I think the only thing just to make note of is there are still some dip switches on the back that you do need to be aware of to make sure you have set in the right positions right out of the gate. Most of those, though, it's minimal in comparison to other systems. Right. So you want to make sure you get those right out of the back. And then the nice thing for input ducking, they're larger switches. Also, there's a few of the inputs that you can switch between mic and line level pretty straightforward and pretty easily with a simple dip switch, which is important based upon what inputs you have coming in.
And Rick, thank you, Greg. And Rick, you have the ability to duck or full cut, correct?
Way it works is if you were not to use any of the high priority settings, what you would do is if you just had an input coming into say a microphone input 1 and you had some background music on 5, then it's going to auto duck inputs 4 and 5 by default without changing anything. And there is a duck threshold level that can change how low it's going to go. But if you as soon as anything kicks in from the higher priority grid, then at that point it's 100% mute of any audio that takes priority over.
Gotcha. Hey Rick, a question coming in from an anonymous viewer here. Are you still pole vaulting?
I don't pole vault. That's my son. My son is at ASU, and he is on a pretty elite pole vault squad there. But yeah, not me. Me. I don't do that. I'm lucky. I tie my shoes and jog.
I wonder who knew that.
That's my son that does that. Yeah.
Hector with another another good question. Are they in stock now? Yes, we do have stock. We got our first wave, I think, like 2 weeks ago. So they are shipping. I'm not sure on the exact inventory count, but we are. Yeah, we're ready to ship. So send your POs away if you're interested. Definitely. Shipping now, yes. Another question. ETA. I'm not sure on stock at the moment. In real time, email info@toaelectronics.com. That's info@toaelectronics.com with any inventory questions, PO questions, anything like that. We'll be able to follow up with you guys. Another question from Neil. In regard to software and multi-locations, will we be able to build a sidebar to identify the location? Rick, you think you can answer this one? Let me just repeat it for you. In regard to software and multi-locations, will we be able to build a sidebar to identify the location?
You'd have to the only way currently to be able to do it to know would be by the unit name and the IP address. So if you know the unit paying the IP address, and if there's any question, if they have multiple units at a location, they're not sure which one it is, rather than having to look at a MAC address, if you click the blink button,
yes,
they would know which one is moving, which one it is.
Yeah, so Neil, there's a way to ping. It's a ping essentially, right, Rick? You could just ping it.
It's just a ping that it just gives you a it's a little icon you click on, and if you click on it, it pings the unit, and the land light will blink
Yep.
a few
Hey,
times.
Greg,
So you know which one it is.
Yep.
can you show us the front panel, the LEDs that show indication of status? Yeah, let me see if I can pin you. Give me one sec here.
You got your status lights up here.
Yeah, here we go. So Greg's showing you the display is very simple. You have the main VU on the front panel, and then all the way to the right, our right, Greg's left, you have the status LEDs. You have error over current, thermal protect, LAN connect, emergency priority, and CPU run. So these can be used for remote maintenance. When you ping the unit, Rick, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe LAN connect will blink.
LAN connect will blink for, I don't know, 5 seconds or so. So if they had these 2 or more, they know which one they're on.
Yep. So we put those LEDs there to troubleshoot, maintain. The end user probably won't be using those too much, but Neil, good question. Yeah, and you could rename each unit, and you can identify it by IP. So you can set the IP static or whatever you'd like to do there. So you can name each unit individually. So good question as well. Anything else? Let me just make sure I'm not missing any questions. Remote maintenance here. Log files, yes. Rick, is there a master log, an error log, or an operation log that the user...
Not currently. There's not. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, it's a good question. No, definitely. And also, Rick, I know we discussed this. I'm going to mention this real quick. In terms of the IP protocol and remote control.
Yeah. So I looked at that. So the IP protocol is everything that is on the web page. So essentially, this thing has a built-in web server. It opens up, and everything that is in that UI for control is what the API does. So I'm trying to think about how people might use their IP protocol, and so far, I think it would just be strictly if somebody wanted to brand a system, wanted to have their company brand on a web page, and because it's APIs, so you got to be able to build an API request, which essentially is a web page. So I'm not sure how you'd use it past there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is capable of receiving a remote control. If an integrator is capable of building their own APIs, or if they have a custom web application that they want to use to remote control, it's a possibility. So we
and I mean it'll take an API. Yeah, anything that can use the syntax for an API.
Yeah. Which
essentially is going to be, like we were looking at. What was the internet that? Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of the one we were looking at, Eric. That
Postman?
Gave us an Postman, yeah, that's one where you can build APIs from there.
Right. So yeah, just so you guys know, it's capable of custom integrations with custom APIs for integrators that use that type of thing, where they want some kind of single source for remote control. This could be larger companies, larger retail applications, things like that. So it is available. Also, integration into, maybe Rick can tackle this one, integration into security systems. So there's a manual mute override, right, Rick?
Well, there's mute. If you want to share the screen, I'll share it for you. I'll show you.
Just unshare.
All right. So for security systems, mainly what they're going to be doing is all going to be based off this input priority settings. So on their security systems, everything's based on priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and then, for example, anything that's marked valid means it's active, and then what do you want what you want to happen. You know, when Control 2's made, I want to hear Audio 1, I want to hear the chime, and I want all this other stuff, all these other inputs to go mute. And then I want that to override whatever in Control 1, et cetera. And down the chain you go.
And then you had the, just a touch on it, the priority emergency status on the upper right-hand corner.
That right here, if you set this, all that's going to do is override all settings for volume. Right. So it's going to take, like, if you have an announcement coming through, let's say a pre-recorded announcement that there's a tornado coming. If that contact closure was made and then that audio came through, it would override everything going on at that point.
Gotcha.
But it's going to be at full maximum volume.
Right.
But sometimes people want under emergency situations.
Under situations like that, exactly. Okay. All right, guys. Cool. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Greg. I want to thank everybody, number one, that's tuned in. We'll wrap it up here. I think we gave you guys a lot of information. Obviously, there's a lot more that you may want to know. You can follow up with Rick. You can follow up with myself. You can not Greg. Greg doesn't work for us, but Greg probably knows just as much as I do, maybe.
You can follow up with me if you want.
We'll be happy to answer any of those questions. In regards to inventory, like I said, you guys can use info@TOA Electronics. We have a great customer service team that can answer any sales-based questions. Obviously, reach out to your sales reps. I see a lot of familiar faces in here. I want to thank the viewers for sticking around. Andrew, Ed, Hector, good questions from you guys. Jim, Karen, Kevin, Matthew, Mashupta, good questions. Neil, thanks for the questions. Reggie, Rob, Scott, Steven, thank you guys so much for hanging around. We're bringing this for you guys so you can understand what we're doing here and what we're bringing you when it comes to new products. I know you guys want to see new products. That's, on a consumer standpoint, it's very exciting. And we are working hard every day to get you guys what you need out there. So times are changing. We know that. We're aware of that. And we're working hard to give you guys solutions, to the current times that we're in. Thank you so much. Real quick, obviously we're doing webinars. It seems like we're doing them at the end of the month on Wednesdays. Holidays are coming up, so we might shift those around a little bit. I got to talk to the marketing team and figure out how we're going to squeeze those in. We're going to have 2 more coming up before the end of the year. Mid-November. Okay, so be prepared. Mid-November, we have another one coming up. Podcast every week. If you guys haven't seen me on there, check it out. Good information. Not only does it pertain to TOA gear, but we get into, like last week we got into AV and NVIDIA. If you guys aren't familiar with NVIDIA, there's a lot going on in web conferencing right now. Really cool stuff, AI-related stuff. So we're always reading articles. We're always keeping up with the times. So check out my podcast. That's Sound Supply. We upload to Facebook. We upload to YouTube and Anchor, which is a podcast hosting site. So keep your eyes out for those as well. That's every week. We usually release them every Monday. And then again, guys, if your friends want to hop in on this, your colleagues, your team members, they want to learn more about the unit, this video will be rewatchable on Facebook, so please check it out. It's going to be posted within the next 5 minutes. Spread the word. We'd appreciate it. But that's it. That wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope everybody's safe out there. New Jersey's been cold and dreary, and Greg's in Jersey too. You can attest to that. Greg, I wake up every morning and it's black outside. I don't know what's going on.
No, it has not been fun recently.
But we're, what we do is inside anyway. So I guess we're blessed on that aspect. Rick's out in California. Rick, must be beautiful out there, man.
It's always beautiful in California.
And that's it. Rick, thanks again. Greg, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. We appreciate all the support. And we'll catch you guys next time. Spread the word. This is going to go right up on Facebook. Check it out. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer those. Take care. Be safe. Be well. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for all the attendees for sticking around. Thank you, guys. Stay safe. Take care.